Faster, stronger, harder.
Whoa.
Hey, man. Oh, how's it going?
Billy, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not exactly feeling hypnotic or funky fresh at
Oh,
all today.
okay. I am sensing a lack of energy.
Yeah. However, I am so psyched to be in front of this microphone. It's so pretty, and it sounds way better already.
Yeah, no, these are superior in practically every way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so hopefully this is the end of our audio woes, largely speaking.
Looking for now, it looks that way.
Yeah, if me turning my mic a second ago attacked you people out in video land, I apologize.
Yeah. I mean, but no adventure is really an adventure without some kind of conflict. So.
That's right.
And this feels adventurous.
Yes, delving into the to the depths of
Billy.
Yes, sir.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
Off the fly, don't think about it too hard.
Okay.
Either you get $5 million
Uh-huh.
or you get 5 years added to your life. And when I say that, I mean you freeze your aging, your physical, mental aging.
I'm going to take the 5 years.
Just period.
Just period.
Right. Why is that?
Because I can do shady things to get additional money during that 5 years.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
Hey.
Like, as important as money is, you can always get a little more.
Oh yeah.
Somehow. Now, how much does that money mean? That's a different story. But you can always get a little more money. Time is most definitely the most precious commodity.
Yeah. There's not really a way to add that back.
No, I mean, medical sciences were great and stuff, but at what quality of life,
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say that one of the next most precious commodities, especially with the holiday season coming up, because we live in a capitalist society.
Oh, yes.
Money, right?
Absolutely.
So
people are already talking about Christmas in my office, and I'm upset about it.
God, I hate it so much. I loved Christmas as a kid, and I feel like this is a copy paste for a lot of adults our age, because we pay bills and stuff because we have jobs,
right,
and want to have a decent life. And then
oh yeah, sure.
Christmas swings on through, and they're like, you have to prove you love people by giving them stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff costs money. You're gonna need to come up with some more money.
Yeah, and then you come up with some more money, and then you're like, but this other thing, and then it's even more money.
Like a water heater.
Oh Lord.
Set of tires, something like that.
I wasn't even thinking about practical life applications with that statement.
Oh, see, I wish I didn't. I wish I couldn't, but
oh no.
Right. But I mean, being nerdy, geeky people, we have hobbies.
So many hobbies.
See, I don't even have that many, but the one that I have just seems strenuous on the extra fun budget.
Okay, but in all fairness, the main I started to say habit. The main hobby that we share is aggressively overpriced.
Oh, dear God, yes. Shiny cardboard.
Yeah. That doesn't hold value.
Not great value. You can treat it like a stock market though, and I've done that before, and I'm really kind of itching to get back into that.
Yeah. You were speculating pretty hard earlier today. Honestly, I think you were onto something.
I'm still getting used to this camera thing, by the way. I realized that I was leaning over to get a good look at you.
Yeah, we are not in. You know what? I can adjust.
Adjustments.
Sort of. Wrong way.
Cut this out. Yeah, no, because I'm still my posture's terrible. We can cut this out.
We'll fix it in post.
But yeah, so in that train of thought, we come from two. I mean, similarly, we come from two backgrounds that are, were raised by parents who blue collar, make a dollar.
Oh yeah.
keep food on the table, and obviously we made it, so
Yeah.
they did their job. But also at a lower price. Like
Yeah.
it, it's a hard argument to make because yeah, the pay scale was different. Like they got paid less, but things costed less.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and just take this opportunity to give my folks a shout out. Um, things cost less, but they didn't have hobbies like we do.
Right, right.
Like they pretty much sacrificed a large chunk of their years
Right.
to raise me.
Right.
So I appreciate that, guys.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's still, I'm sure there were still things, maybe not even that costed much financially, that they enjoyed
Right.
doing. I mean, like, call it a vice, or maybe they just liked, I don't know, tiny figurines or something like that, like the little precious moments or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my mom had her thing that she spent money on, whatever. I think they all did because they're people,
Right.
And if you, unless you're truly like detached from the material, which kudos if you can be.
I'm not that transcendent.
Yeah. I like to eat, but also I like to look at my wall and like the things that are on it, type of thing.
I have a board game problem.
you know, but I think you earn that as a human being. Just
I do my best.
slugging through the day to day. I think you get that. So
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about us having come from different kind of corners of the geek world,
Right.
and then intersected in sort of this weird Venn diagram. Um, but you know, there's you were talking about treating card games like a stock market, and that's never a bet that I've been willing to make.
Right.
I've never felt comfy hedging my financial bets on card markets.
Oh god, no. I'm not talking about keeping the lights on at all.
Oh no, I don't even spend like discretionary. I don't even do it with discretionary funds.
Right. I've definitely gotten a lot better. Part of what used to sustain that was that I would just go on a tear and spend more than I should have on booster packs.
Right.
We're going to cover Yu-Gi-Oh really soon, and I'm honestly super excited about that episode as much as I'm going to bitch about money.
Yeah, they like it's hard to hold him back. Like there's three guys right now.
Right. Just
Yep. Like just off camera, just barely.
yeah, it's anyway. I don't know. I used to spend more than I should have, for sure. But then also through watching how the game was working at the time and the progression and whatnot, I would be able to make a decent call on what was going to be worth a little more money here
Right.
soon or down the line. And then I think my best one, and I'm going to try to make this the last I really talk about cards specifically, but I think my best one was I turned 3 cards at less than $3 a piece into $65 in the course of a week.
Dang.
I ordered the cards. They came in the mail 2 days after an event
Oh.
happened.
Yeah, you got
And I
immediately lucky.
yeah, mailed them back out. But it doesn't always go like that. But
Oh no.
you can get lucky. But the better way to go about it is just to have good business sense, I guess. In regards, I'm really only good at it with this thing.
Right.
I wish I could apply it to the actual stock market, maybe be in a better situation. But
The actual stock market, and this is and let me just preface by saying this should not be taken as actual financial or legal advice.
dear God, no. No.
We are not certified professionals of any kind. This is just my opinion. And but the stock market is like the general stock market is really a tool for long term investments.
Sure.
Like swing trading is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's don't go buy Nvidia and think that you're about to make a 50% profit.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, there's so much research that goes into that.
No, the closest, I mean, the closest I could measure the card stock thing
Mm-hmm.
against is like day trading.
Yeah.
Because it is so finicky, and it was finicky then, and that was 8-ish, 9-ish years ago.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, but I mean, the whole point, the whole driver behind this episode was the fact that, I mean, currently as adults we have two very different situations, like
Right.
the way we're living. So I have kids.
I have zero children.
Yeah, right.
0%.
But like, we're both, and I don't know your portfolio by any means, the contents of your wallet, and you don't necessarily know mine, but I mean, we're making it,
Oh yeah.
right? And so I was up late one night dadding, and I caught
Like
this,
you do.
right, this documentary on money and like financial responsibility, and just kind of learning how to be better with your money.
Right.
And that's what got me interested in this. So, what do you do? What's your mentality with? I mean, outside of covering the basic necessities.
So, I mean, it really starts there because if you don't have I this is me personally.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a strong foundation as far as covering your bills,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to come back and eat at your hobby dollars later.
Oh,
So like I've got a budget,
mm-hmm.
and my monthly bills are paid for before I start taking money out for jack all else.
Sure.
I know more than one person, who will find a good deal or whatever, and they'll latch onto it. And for whatever reason, like 3 weeks later, bam, there was a bill they forgot about, or something
Mm-hmm.
came up, and now they're turning around and they're having to sell their good deal that they found,
Right.
and oftentimes for a loss.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks.
Right.
So I try to avoid that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I am lucky enough to have gotten a lot of good deals in my life, but I've passed on a lot of good deals because
Right.
it
If it's not there, it's not there.
right.
Right.
And straight up, I bought a lot of stuff that I really didn't want just because it was a good deal,
Right.
but I made money off of it.
Right. Well, that's the whole point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna, it's an investment. It's
Mm-hmm.
I try to make it a point that if I'm spending extra money on that particular hobby, that it is like, obviously it's going to be the extra money,
Right.
but also that there could potentially be a return.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the chance of return is better than others, and sometimes there is no return. But
Usually
if
there is
you,
no return.
right? If you only make safe bets, you're not. You got to take a chance here and there.
Right.
But
Yeah, and I mean, if in which in so as far as as far as bets go, I in a lot of ways I'm not a big risk taker.
mm-hmm.
I don't like to gamble unless I know I'm gonna win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That being said, I did get into options trading
Options.
for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprisingly good at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun, but you've got to have the time to micromanage and babysit, that sort of thing. And once again, the collectible market, and it's not just cards. The
Right.
collectible market's kind of the same way.
Right.
Like you can make $100 or you can lose $100 based on how much attention you were paying, just to the tide of the day. Um, and there's
Beanie Babies.
yeah, Beanie Babies. That was that was one of those things everybody swore up and down that they were going to be like super valuable.
Dude, I'm staring at my wall of Funko Pops right now. Like, when does it burst? Dear God, I hope it's not soon. Because, like, I love looking at them. My Marvel collection.
Yeah.
I don't know if did you come up? I don't know if you've seen them lately.
Not lately, no.
They're shelled up real nice. They look real pretty.
Very nice.
Thanks, Reagan and Aaron. But they look great, and I've got a few that I've just had for a long time. Like,
Yeah.
I just happened to pick them up from the store at retail, $8-9,
Right.
whatever, and now they're worth considerably more. And every time I think about Beanie Babies, I'm like, because I don't want to get rid of them. I love
Right.
looking at them,
Right.
but they would be a nice little chunk of change just right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in 5 years, like, let me put you on this. So I had a Batman from the Dark Knight trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Like the Funko Pop.
Yes, the
Okay,
Funko
yeah,
Pop.
yeah.
And again, I picked it up from the store for like $8, $9. It was on clearance even or something like that.
Okay.
And Reagan moved in, and I started like consolidating my collection because I had a lot that were just like, I just grabbed it because it looked cool.
Right. Right.
And I wanted to. I was headed out, wanted to get a little extra money to play with that day.
Mm-hmm.
Took like 12 pops to Game Exchange or some store similar. Spoilers, don't do that. If you're sitting on some kind of random collectible, do not do that. Yeah, I know.
It's okay.
And I mean, I got like $80-90 for the day, right?
Right. Well, do you remember what you spent base
on those pops?
Yeah.
Probably about that much. So
okay.
Realistically, I broke even.
Okay.
However, the worth of was closer to 160, and that random Batman was carrying 55 of that.
Oh man.
Yeah. And so then I came back home and I was like, what about you?
Right.
What are you hiding?
So I don't know if you partook in the Hastings going out of business sale.
God, I was so broke at the time.
Man, I was after they went out of business.
Oh, yeah.
I saved $900 and something one day according to that receipt.
Dear God.
And I made multiple trips.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's there were many more receipts.
Yeah.
But I bought a ton of Funko Pops when they were going out of business, and sat on them for quite a while. And I did kind of the same thing you did. I took them down to there was a game store in Cabot. I don't even remember what it was called. At the time, it was the oldest game store in the state.
Oh wow.
But it's closed now.
Sad.
Yeah, but I took them down there and traded them in. Got several $100s in store credit. I paid $100 for them because the sale was sale was steep.
Right.
I have tried my best to forget what any of them were because I don't want to accidentally find out that one of them was like $100 or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, trade-in value at a lot of these places is not high.
Right.
I'm setting on a few like kind of high-end Pokemon cards.
Sure.
And the most you'll get at a shop's like 60%.
Right.
And I'm not turning loose of it for 60%.
No. Well, and I mean, especially if you just got to a place where you just wanted to sell it for whatever reason, it might take a little bit longer, and in ways it's a little bit more like risky, but just selling them online is the way to go. I mean, you'll have people that'll pay, depending on the condition of the card itself, 85 to 90% all day,
right? If
it's just something they're really looking for.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be realistic at this point. They'll probably go to my wife.
Sure.
There's a slim chance I might find somebody with $400 who really wants a shiny Charizard.
Right. Okay.
But it's unlikely.
No. Right. I mean, then again, I'm in a couple of those groups, and you'll have people prop that up, pretty often.
Yeah.
But so again, the money thing though, and to touch on the budgeting, so in this documentary, there was they took on 4 different people, all of which had family, or no, 2 of which had families, 2 of which did not.
Okay.
And I saw over a year's time, and I mean, it's Hollywooded up, so
Right.
and these financial experts they each took on a
person.
an account.
They each took a Padawan.
Right. And one of these guys is a professional football player, so obviously his story is pretty negligible to me.
Right.
With the exception that, I mean, at the same time, there were things to take from each person. Like this professional football player, got it. He was young, signed his contract, played fast and loose with his money, went from around $1 million down to 200,000 real fast.
Right.
And that's when he decided to pump the brakes.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. But then he got hurt.
Oh.
And in professional sports, that tends to slow the revenue down some.
Yep.
So, but he did turn it around. He got rehabbed and stuff like that. But he was just looking for a way to make his money happen, like to make something happen with what he had.
Right.
And you mentioned the options trading. I don't know a whole lot about that. I don't know a whole lot about any of the stock market.
It's a good way to lose your investment if
Right.
you're not careful.
But that's
I lost $6,000 in a single day one time.
uh,
I got it back, but
fair enough. Okay.
I still needed a change of pants.
Right. Absolutely. I can't imagine. Yeah, I'm glad I just fiddle with like $50 and $60 Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But they started talking about, and I've got the notes in my phone. I wish I had studied over them today before I came up here. But I mean, that's what got me my interest in like really investing that money. Now, with that said, you've got to be at a place where you take that extra, because they're talking about putting $1,000, $5,000 in this stock fund.
Right.
I'm like, I've got $3. What do I get?
What can I get for $350?
Right. A fo, almost.
Yeah.
But no, there was this other woman who had amassed a considerable amount of credit card debt. She had a little bit of a shopping addiction.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Husband worked. She worked mostly from home, which is very beneficial to be able to be home with the kids and then also pull a dollar down. But at the end of the day, their income was by no means matching their output.
Right.
And within a year, they had this lady flipped around to where she was roughly 65 grand in credit card debt at the beginning, and towards the end she was below 10 grand.
Okay.
Over the course of a year, and most of that took place in 6 months. Super impressive.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, go ahead.
Well, mostly I'm just I think it'd be cool to get ideas between us, and then also anybody that listens gets the perk of catching some of these tips here too.
So, I mean, if touching on the credit card debt, I mean, if you do have outstanding credit card debt, there's got to be where there's a lot of debt consolidation options out there, and I'd be lying if I said I was overly familiar with most of them. But one thing that you can do is, you can look at, you take out a personal loan. And oftentimes that interest rate is like a fraction of what your credit card interest rate is. So, if you're setting it, about 20% interest on a credit card, and you can take out a personal loan for 10%, 15%, that's you're saving dollars.
See, it's interesting that you bring that up, and I agree. I think it's a fantastic idea. However, this woman had done that as well.
Oh no.
So what had happened was, she took out the personal loan to consolidate, shrink everything up.
Right.
But then guess what?
She
now all her credit cards are free and clear.
Yep.
Then what do we do?
Make it rain. That's kind of nuts.
Wind it up.
What do you remember what they wound up doing to get her out of that?
The one thing that stood out to me the most about that particular case was this financial advisor
Mm-hmm.
had her split her paycheck across 5 different accounts,
Okay.
which sounds crazy, but in this, no offense, this woman made a little bit less money a month than I do.
Okay.
I mean, and that's bring home.
Right.
Uh, so that was the inspirational bit to me, because definitely have found myself in some credit card debt. I'm an adult.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it happens.
Right. Uh, but that was the inspirational bit to me, is that she's got, you know, the bill account.
Right.
Like this is where the lump sum of your money is going to go.
Right.
And then we've got a a me account. So things that aren't just directly to the family or the household or what have you, but like, say, a car payment.
Okay.
Just for example, a car payment in your name, or what have you. And then there's like an expense account, so groceries,
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then there was two separate accounts, one for emergencies and one for your dream or the thing you love, whatever.
Okay.
So like in her case, it was a vacation fund or whatever.
Okay.
That fund was arguably the smallest, of course, because trickle down.
Right.
But the driving point that they really put forward was to automate.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know that this and this and this is going to happen,
Right.
then it can be a back burner type
Yeah.
of thing. So you can focus on other things. And then, there was also something that didn't make a lot of sense to me, and it may resonate with somebody listening here, but to get to this point, instead of using her debit card to make purchases, just day-to-day purchases, she would just swipe her credit card, even though the money
Was on the debit.
was on the debit card for the thing.
Right.
And I assume it's because, well, if it's on a credit card, I can pay for it later, and then I can buy another thing.
Okay.
Or I don't live her life, just my assumption. But and that was another thing too. But it's a hurdle that I don't have to get over necessarily, because I don't buy a lot of just random shit. Because
Good job.
Yeah, I mean, because the bills have to be paid. But some people may. I also fully understand retail therapy.
Yeah.
Because I've been caught up in that place a lot. But also there was another woman on this show who, it was just her and her boyfriend. They live together. She deals with depression and mental illness, which I think a lot of adults in this generation do, and maybe in previous generations. We just didn't talk about it as much. That's another time.
Right.
But yeah, so she would find herself with 3 jobs, working really hard at all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and just between her and her boyfriend scraping by. And so when you're caught up in that cycle, that money cycle,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to bring yourself to give any time to the things you love.
Been there, done that.
So some advice that this advisor gave her was to take something you love and make it a side gig. So this woman was also an artist, and had done some murals around. Also, to be fair, she lived in Houston, I want to say.
Okay.
So
bigger city.
Right, much bigger city. Some things she was good at, things she enjoyed doing, and make them work for her. So that was really cool to see, and I'm trying to find that as well. As far as right now, I'm looking at investing in shiny cardboard.
Yeah.
Just on a small scale, because eventually it does grow to be something. I had, just to tag that back one more time, there were times when I didn't know where the money was going to come from an electric bill.
Mm-hmm.
And within 10 days, I had flipped some cardboard and paid off $400 in electric bill.
Yeah. I mean, that's very doable.
So, but the whole point in doing that was to one day have the hobby sustain itself.
Right.
So that if I wanted something new, if I wanted to get something, then I would just flip some cards, and it never had to touch my bank account. So
that's the dream.
Right. I mean, and I want to get there again, not just with collectibles, but across the board, anything. I want to mass produce, or not mass produce, but not like, we're gonna have to cut that audio. I want to create a revenue stream for something that I love that at the very least takes care of itself. Now, if it could pony on up and pay some fucking bills,
wow, bills.
Then, but yeah, I'm not gonna
Your
hold
hobby
out.
could get a job.
Yeah, pull some fucking weight.
That's what I tell my dogs all the time.
Right.
Get a job.
Right. No, I'm looking at this baby right now. Like, you start walking, I swear to God, you're gonna start selling Skittles on the street for $3 a pack. I've seen it happen, dude. It works. It's ridiculous, but it works.
What child labor laws?
They're just fucking hanging out. Got some extra candy.
Right. Exactly.
Shaka shaka. But what else? What else you got, man? What do you think?
So there were several really interesting things that you kind of brought up in what you had just said. When you talked about she would swipe her credit card instead of her debit card, in that's something that I do in a lot of places.
Okay.
And the reason I do it is cash back. So like recently, one of my cards was doing like 5% cash back on gas for a quarter.
Okay.
As like a quarterly bonus.
Right.
And so I used that card exclusively for gas every time I bought it.
Right.
But I'd pay it down to like $5 at the end of the month, like before interest started accruing.
You're dropping some hot stuff right now, and you're doing it fast. I just want to make sure that we're registering that. So the whole credit card for gas thing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds elementary, but again, I had no idea when I first got a credit card. And let me also say that I didn't get my first credit card until I was late 20s.
Okay, yeah, I was mid 20s.
Right. Okay. Cool. That doesn't make me feel as bad then, because I was like, and it's such a predatory cycle too.
Mm-hmm.
Just sorry to detract from that, but it's such a predatory cycle. It's like you have to have credit to get credit, but how do you get credit?
Right. And so on that note, there and you can just Google it. There are some credit cards that are designed specifically for people with no credit, or bad credit. It's not guaranteed approval, but it's close.
Good chance. But the interest rate
is up there.
Right.
But those cards are not really meant for you to go slap a set of new rims on.
Sure.
And pay $10 a month or whatever.
Right.
It's for building credit, and so when you spend on your card and you pay it down to $5 or whatever before interest is accruing, you are building your credit.
Right.
If you're listening to this and you're like 18, 19, go ahead and get a credit card. Because they don't teach you about this anywhere, but one of the big things that drives your credit report is the age of your longest running credit line.
Right.
So if you wait until you're 30, and you're like, I need to build some credit, one of the you're automatically kind of at a disadvantage because you don't have a very old credit line. Which is not to say that it's ever too late to start.
Right.
But it's so much easier if you start early.
Right.
But yeah, credit cards can have some great cash back, some great point features, but you've got to, you can't just let the money sit there. Otherwise you're not actually making any money.
Right.
And then, you had mentioned, something to the effect of hobbies that paid for themselves and everything, that's the dream. but you know, at some point you kind of have to ask yourself, is the grind worth the green? Um, you know, my wife used to have an Etsy store. She did pretty well, but it became a job, and she stopped enjoying it.
Fair.
And there's this lady, she's a little Asian lady. She's got a show on Netflix. Marie Kondo, I believe is her name. And basically her test is, does this thing in your life spark joy? If it doesn't, you throw it away,
Right.
or well, you get rid of it.
Right.
And I think that if you know, if you're getting to a point in your life where you're overworking yourself, because like I did 75, 80 hours a week for a while.
I remember.
You've done the same, if not more.
Yeah.
And you know, made hella money.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have time to spend any of that money.
Right.
Didn't I was it was just making money for the sake of making money.
Right. And that was the thing that was pushed on us, though, I feel like, as kids. Was like, if you're not going to go to college, and you better go get a job and you make a whole bunch of money real fast while you're still young. And I mean, the only thing that does is, I think, you're like, I just made all this money, and now what? Like, because life, my 20s sucked for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were obviously things that I'm glad happened in my 20s, and like I had kids and stuff, and I love my kids, but your brain's not even fully mature enough to grasp what is happening, and you're just pushing your body through, like you said, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. And you feel okay physically, but then also it doesn't last.
No, and for me, it was more the mental burnout. Like,
absolutely.
Like, I wasn't doing, 75, 80 hours a week at like a strenuous job,
right,
physically. But you do anything for that many hours, and like you're gonna start to wear up in the head,
right.
And there's no shame in that. It's just that's just how people are.
Well, it's the learning curve for sure. But if we could get out in front of those folks and be like, listen, bud, find some joy in what you got right now. Yeah. And some of the younger guys that I interact with, I'm really happy for them, because they are leaps and bounds ahead of us. Just talking to them, in that respect, like they'll work. I've seen them. They work, but then also they'll get the money that they want, or the money that they need to take care of the thing that they want, or the thing that they need, and then they'll lay back. And then, like, one of those guys is a streamer, not a huge stream yet. He's asked me to hold off on bringing him up, so I will. But
secret stream.
He's doing the smart thing to do in your 20s,
right?
So kudos to him. But I feel like that's because partially we, 10 years older than this guy, figured out that was not the way. The way we did it was not the way, because these kids are so much smarter about their money now. Like, I was listening to a podcast last night, and there was a story about this streamer who scammed this 16-year-old kid out of $7,000.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying that's okay, and I'm not bragging for that dude by any means, but the fact that a 16-year-old
had $7,000 to be scammed out of.
Right. And to clarify, I don't think it was all his, but a good majority of it was. So that kid was smart enough to make some money happen at 15, 16 years old. However, he was just naive enough to lose it.
Right.
So yeah, but speaking of the whole streamer thing, I think it's to be real, part of the reason that we're doing this, I mean, not for us to necessarily make this into a money-making venture, hopefully. But that's,
like, comment, and subscribe.
That's a new revenue stream that I feel like when we were 18 years old was not even in the cosmos of possibility necessarily.
Yeah, not really.
Right. So,
like, we were just beginning, like, to see the rise of, like, profitable content creation.
Right. Now, I remember being 16, 17 years old in Hillcrest High School, and my friend brought, he was one of the more affluent kids at school, brought an iPhone, his iPhone to school for the first time, and we legitimately were like hooked on watching YouTube videos.
Right.
Not even thinking about the fact that these guys are getting paid for this, and they may not have been the people that we were watching.
Right.
But
well, I mean, and ads weren't anything back then like they were now.
No.
Like making money off ad revenue on YouTube was a very non-existent idea.
Right. And now, literally, there are people who have jobs doing that, and they got into it because on some level they love it.
Right.
And they turn something they love into profitability. Now, coming back to the argument of, is the grind worth the green? I have heard of quite a few people abandoning it strictly because, reworking of contracts and stuff like that through certain services and whatnot. But
right.
Again, me at 18 could not fathom the idea that I wouldn't have to hit a time clock every day. I could sit at home and play video games or just talk into a microphone and get paid for it.
Yeah. I have dabbled in streaming here and there, and I have for a while I worked part-time while I had an IT business. And I was really exploring the world of working for myself. But the thing, I don't know, it's always been very hard for me to get away from that guaranteed paycheck. I don't, like I said, I don't take those gambles. And I eventually burn out on IT work, and close my shop and all that. But, and I can't say that I necessarily regret most of the decisions that I've made in my life.
Right.
But I do. This is part of the reason this has been so fun, is because it's it's social, but B, it's new. It's something that I always thought would be cool, which is to be on the radio, kind of.
Right.
But if you love it, you love it. Don't. I encourage people not to monetize what they love to the point they don't love it anymore.
Right.
Now, once again, if you are determined to be a streamer, and you're probably going to get sick and tired of playing at least certain video games.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's your job. Being tired of playing video games is probably one of the less sucky things.
One of the most first world problems I think I've heard of in my life.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I wanna flip back a little bit to this documentary you were talking about.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of it?
Not off the top of my head, but I can tell you it was on Netflix.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You were talking about the football player. Relatively few people are in the position of having $1 million all at once.
Right.
And it's easy to see where, especially if you look at it as, well, I'm not going to get hurt. I'm going to get another $1 million next season or next contract or whatever.
Right.
It's easy to go ahead and say, I can spend $250,000 on this.
Right.
This thing.
This guy dropped a chunk of change on some chains, and he did take a really cool trip, which he took a trip to Paris. He took his fiance at the time, or they may have been married.
That's respectable.
But it still took money.
Right.
To do that.
Oh yes, international travel is not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But and you probably have heard the phrase, "Don't count your chickens before they hatch."
Right.
The money that you will make next week is not in the bank.
No.
You have not made that money yet.
Right.
Um, so, and in the position he was in, he had, and even if it's not $1 million,
Right.
even if you have, an extra 5,000, an extra 1,000,
Right.
um,
It's not
it's,
extra. Pretend
it's
it's not there.
right. I mean, well, and don't assume you're going to make another
No.
X amount of money.
Right.
Um,
We live in the working world.
um, you know, retire like we're gonna get old.
Yep.
And nobody wants to do any grind forever.
No.
If you're ahead, consider storing some of that away.
Right.
Now, right now, interest rates on CDs at banks, it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people are lucky enough to have a 401k or something like that through their employer. Some people are not. Um, I think it's important, unless you yourself are a professional money person.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to manage your own money. Go somewhere, have somebody invest it for you, or just let the 401k people manage it for you.
Right.
Um, don't try to do it yourself with your primary retirement.
Right.
Um, had he taken $500,000 and invested with one of the top 50
Right.
money managers in this country, um, expected return 7-ish%.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And that's way above what you're going to get on a CD right now.
Well, that was part of his whole story, was that he was really scared of the stock market. That was his biggest thing that he wanted to get into with the money that he did have, was to figure out how to make the stock market work for him. And so he was still really, really hesitant. And this advisor convinced him to drop some money into the stock market. And the advisor was pushing him. He's like, 10,000, just do it. You won't regret it. And he was like, no, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. 5,000. No, still really hesitant. So the guy he spread 2,500 across 3 companies, I think it was.
Okay.
And within a month, I believe it was, he was like, I'm putting 5 on everything. So,
right.
But again, he exists in a world where I think a lot of us don't.
Yeah.
As far as amounts of money that we can just put towards things like that.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for the stock market, both good and bad. The thing is a good money manager, and the stock market's scary because companies can go bankrupt. Right. You get bad news out of some other country, and suddenly market takes a downturn, and you start looking at losing thousands of dollars. But a good money manager is not going to put all your eggs in one basket. There are entire index funds that are built off of they're made up of multiple companies.
Right.
There's lots of ways that a professional money manager can insulate your investment. So don't be afraid of it, I would say. Now, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Billy, what do you think about scratch off tickets? Is that the way to make it?
Spicy.
I mean,
that depends on how badly you need toilet paper.
No, fair enough. It's not comfy toilet paper either.
You'd have to need it real bad.
Right. I'll say, okay, but say realistically, somebody comes into a work bonus they don't need. You need it, or it'll help.
Right.
But everything's square. Everything for the foreseeable future is square. We just got new tires. Our phone's good. Blah 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 blah. Say you got $300 to play with, right? I'm not saying recommend us some companies to invest in, but I mean that is a small amount in the grand scheme. But how do we invest that? You mentioned index fund. You mentioned blanking, but
so with $300,
and obviously you're not. You go into this not be rational and don't think that next week you're gonna have $5,000.
Right.
That,
And anybody who promises like huge returns
they're not. Yeah,
is lying to you.
don't give them $300.
Yeah. You know, people who were talking about like 25%, 50% returns
Right.
in a year, and that's not happening.
Right.
So what you can do is you can go.
Again, we're not professionals.
No. You can, and I'm trying to remember the name that there is such a thing as crowdfunding for businesses, and or a you can there. I'm trying to so hard to remember the names of them.
Let me check the notes.
But one company that I'm familiar with is Legion M.
Okay.
And they had their initial stock offering through an online platform, and I can't remember the name of it, and I'm trying really hard. And you know, you could invest with relatively little money, and really get on the ground floor. Like I think their initial price per share was somewhere around $5-ish. I think I bought in for about $7 a share. Whenever I bought some of their stock, not endorsing, but I'm just saying I own some. And you know, since then it's grown, it's split, and you know, was it a good investment? It wasn't terrible, but getting in on the ground floor of things, getting in early with newer companies, you can make some money that way.
Right.
You can also invest in what's called, I believe it's a safe, not an actual safe.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being coy here. Billy.
No. So basically, what you'll do is you basically loan a company money, and they agree to pay you back your initial investment plus a certain percentage. Typically, it's about 50%. So you make 50% off of, you know, your initial investment, which is a pretty good return.
Right.
The catch is that's paid out of typically, I think it's the first 10% of their profits. So if they don't turn a profit, you make no money.
Right.
But when they turn a profit, you make a pretty good return.
Right.
So that's something else to look at with, you know, a few $100s.
Right.
That's what I would do. That's what I have done.
I like it.
And another thing, we had mentioned an actual safe.
Right.
You know, if you put back $30 a month, that's $360 over the course of a year. You know, you can save up faster than you think you can.
Right.
At $30 a month, $360 a year, that's not a lot.
No.
But you know, you can, especially if you've got a side hustle going, you can save up enough for a much larger investment.
Right.
And it's there's such a thing as an IRA, which is, you know, you put money in and then you pay taxes on it, you know,
right.
later. And that's another thing that a professional money manager can do that you probably can't, is they know all the advantageous ways of making your account, you know, benefit you in the way in the realm of taxes.
Right.
That can be huge.
Question, Billy.
Yeah.
Do you bank?
I do bank.
You do bank. Okay.
Yes.
So what kind of services are allotted to you through your bank outside of they just hold your money?
So mine offers free checks.
Okay.
I get a debit card. I don't. There's no fees associated with having my account open.
Right.
If your bank has fees for having a checking account open,
right,
you better be getting something real extra.
Right.
You know.
So my question is, because I truly don't know, outside of that, your checking account, like, can you just make an appointment with I assume there are some money professionals there, as it is a bank.
Mm-hmm.
If not, we've got some problems.
Right.
But is that allotted to you? Do you have that? Do you have that availability to walk into somebody's office and be like, okay, look, here's my situation. I want to hit this goal financially. Or do we have to go to a separate office, a separate place from our bank?
That's going to depend on your bank.
Sure.
I'll be honest, I actually don't know if my bank offers that.
Right.
I've not, being upfront, I use a quote unquote third party money manager.
Okay.
So, I haven't had a need for that service to check into it.
Sure.
Some banks, I believe, do offer that sort of thing. They will, some offer, like estate planning, and trusts, and things like that.
That's something that I've been wanting to buy a house for years, and it's
right.
becoming more and more of a thing that I want to make happen for sure. And I've spoke with some other friends about this, and the biggest recommendation that I'm getting is to go speak with a loan officer. Not that they're going to be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, let me just do some paperwork and here's a couple $100,000.
Right.
They can kind of guide you in a way to get you to that place, like how to manage your debt and what to pay into, how much to save, so on and so forth.
Right.
So I just feel like, and disclosure, this friend that gave me this advice used to bank, like he used to be a banker.
Okay.
So I just feel like it's important that, because I know tons of people that stress and worry over their money and how they're gonna meet this financial goal. So I think somebody hearing that that's a possibility, that as much as you may not want to, you can just walk into your bank and sit down with a loan officer and formulate some kind of a plan.
Yeah. They typically, you can sit down with your officer and they'll give you the steps that you need to take to kind of know if you're ready. They'll give you an idea of what all's going to go into it. They can talk to you about what percentage rates you're typically looking at, and things like that.
Right.
And this applies to auto loans, personal loans, mortgages.
Right.
And now that I thought about it, I know my bank does offer a money market account, which is sort of an investment account. So that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But yeah, go talk to, if you're needing to finance something, go talk to your loan officer,
right.
In person. A lot of banks have online applications for loans.
Sure.
That's all well and good, but I want to talk to the loan officer.
I want to see this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know his face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, we've rambled about the green stuff that feeds these trees for close to an hour now, and I don't know if we've even posited much in the way of helpful information, but
does it matter?
Right. Thank you to the 13 of you who are listening regularly.
Woot.
Yeah,
we love you.
We really do, and hopefully the audio quality's up to your very high standards. Obviously, you got them because you're listening to us.
Oh man, yeah, we do apologize for the issues early on.
Right.
At some point, I would like to do an episode about starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Because this has been an adventure.
Absolutely.
I have done streaming and things before, but moving from speaking into a headset to trying to wrangle like actual microphones and stuff, very different.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Also, I can't hear myself. That's a weird feeling. I mean, I can hear myself, but not through the headset, so I don't know if I'm going to like that more or not. I'm sure the listeners will, but...
Oh, I like listening to you.
Oh. You know what? I love the way you boost me up, man. More people need more people like you.
I appreciate that. I'm not for sale, though.
Fair enough.
You'll have to find your own bald man.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I got in on the ground floor. But, yeah, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It may have been a little bit of a boring subject, but I think anything anything we do as adults, and this is about doing the things that we love, it's gonna cost you.
Oh yeah, it's gonna cost you 10 out of 10. But consistency is key.
Right.
You know, no budget works if you don't stick to it.
Right.
So be smart, consult professionals. You're not a professional. I don't care what you think. You're not a professional.
And remember that even if you're just in a place with debt or anything like that you feel like you can't get out of, that shame is going to keep you in that box.
Yes.
So if you've got to abandon that feeling, because if you can't break past that box, then you won't be able to fix your situation.
Mm-hmm.
You did it. You can't change that it happened, but you can fix it.
There are certain wealthy individuals who have declared bankruptcy so many times.
Absolutely.
And they are still very proud of themselves.
Right.
And they're still wealthy.
Right. And
somehow,
I mean, especially at our, rung on the ladder, it's prudent to say that a millionaire has made $10 at a time.
Yeah.
Because if you hit a scratch off, most of the people I've seen do it, they're broke again in a year.
Mm-hmm. So. Yep. You've gotta manage what you've got now, because you may not make it again.
Right. But this has been informative, I'd say, at the very least, man.
Oh, I hope so.
It's been a good time.
I've enjoyed hanging out with you.
The next few episodes will be much more entertaining, I think. At least if they work out the way I'm hoping to. Got to make some connections.
Woot.
See how that happens.
There will be more guests in the future coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
More fun topics.
Right.
This should release either on or pretty close to Halloween. So
maybe a little after, huh?
It might actually release on the day of.
Interesting.
I'm unsure.
Okay. Well,
But,
I mean, yeah, it works.
Yeah. But anyway, until next time, guys. This has been Geek Your Still. I'm Billy,
David.
and we love you guys. Thanks so much for listening.
Have a great one.